We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News, India's Voice to the World. I'm Lipakshi Kurana, coming up in the next hour. Arab foreign ministers meet in Riyadh as Iran war continues. Saudi FM says kingdom reserves the right to take military action, terms Iran's action unconvincing. Iran threatens massive Gulf energy retaliation as it targets Qatar's Ras Laffan, world's largest LNG plant, while Israel vows to keep up strikes after overnight strikes killed Intel chief Ismail Khatib. Stocks end sharply lower as the U.S. Federal Reserve leaves interest rates unchanged. Chair Jerome Powell flags uncertainty related to impact of Iran war, voices inflation worries. Barcelona, Liverpool and beyond Munich reach UEFA Champions League quarter-finals. Mohamed Salah becomes first African player to score 50 Champions League goals. And Finland ranked the world's happiest country for a record 9th consecutive year. World Happiness Report highlights complex effect of social media on well-being among the youth. And let's begin with the big news coming in right now. Trump vows to destroy Iran gas field if Qatar LNG plant hit again. Trump says Israel will not strike Iran gas plant again. Iran state TV says Qatar gas facility struck again. Qatar's state-run energy firm said new strikes on the Gulf nation's main gas hub on Thursday caused extensive damage. Now, Qatar Energy said in a statement that early Thursday, several of its liquefied natural gas facilities were the subject of missile attacks, causing sizable fires and extensive further damage after a previous attack. Now, the company noted that the earlier attack on the Ras Laffan industrial city on Wednesday had already caused extensive damage to a gas-to-liquid facility, while Iranian state television said that a missile struck Qatar's main gas facility again, hours after it was hit in a destructive strike that Doha said caused extensive damage. Qatar's Ras Laffan refinery hit by missile again, burning, the state-run Islamic Republic of Iran broadcasting posted on social media. Well, Trump has vowed to destroy Iran gas field if Qatar LNG plant hit again. Now, Trump says Israel will not strike Iran gas plant again. Iran state TV says Qatar gas facility struck again. Now, Qatar's state-run energy firm said new strikes on the Gulf nation's main gas hub on Thursday caused extensive damage. Also, Qatar Energy said in a statement that early on Thursday, several of its liquefied natural gas facilities were the subject of missile attacks, causing sizable fires and extensive further damage after a previous attack. Also, the company noted that the earlier attack on the Ras Laffan industrial city on Wednesday had already caused extensive damage to gas and liquids facility, while Iranian state television said that a missile struck Qatar's main gas facility again, hours after it was hit in a destructive strike that Doha said caused extensive damage. Qatar's Ras Laffan refinery hit by missile again, burning, the state-run Islamic Republic of Iran broadcasting posted on social media. And big breaking news coming in right now. As we told you, Trump has vowed to destroy Iran gas field if Qatar LNG plant hit again. Now, Trump says Israel will not strike Iran gas plant again. Also, Iran's state TV says that the Qatar gas facility struck again. On the other hand, Qatar's state-run energy firm said that the new strikes on the Gulf nation's main gas hub on Thursday caused extensive damage. Meanwhile, Qatar Energy said in a statement that early on Thursday, several of its liquefied natural gas facilities were the subject of missile attacks, causing sizable fires and extensive further damage after the previous attack. The company also noted that the earlier attack on the Ras Laffan industrial city on Wednesday had already caused extensive damage to a gas-to-liquid facility, while Iranian state television said that a missile struck Qatar's main gas facility again, hours after it was hit in a destructive strike that Doha said caused extensive damage. Qatar's Ras Laffan refinery hit by missile again, burning, the state-run Islamic Republic of Iran broadcasting posted on. All right, and for more on this, we are joined in by Akshay. Well, Akshay, tell us more about this. The breaking news we are reading to our viewers right now. Trump has vowed to destroy Iran gas field. Tell us more on that.
Well, this remains a two-way field, two-way street there, Lipakshi, as far as the threats are concerned, because initially after making tall claims about wiping the Iranian leadership and doing a regime change immediately, US is learning that this is going to be a war of attrition. This is going to be a long-drawn war, and perhaps a war that they cannot decisively win. Similar on those lines, let's just go back a few days back when the strike started. US was hoping that there will be a one-way strike and Iran will at max retaliate against Israel, which will be rendered useless by the air defense systems, both of the US and of Israel that are in place. But that did not happen. And that is why the war escalated, and now it has reached the dangerous territory of attacking each other's energy sources, energy fields. And if one thing that can be lit like a matchbox is a tinderbox is the energy resources that are there, energy field, oil fields, gas fields that are there in vast abundance in Qatar, in Kuwait, in Bahrain, in Saudi Arabia, and other countries as well, which can be a leading factor to a massive damage, but not only to the resources of the region, but to the stability of the region. And now we saw that how strikes against Iran's new energy facilities and attempts to wipe out the top leadership has now forced Iran into attacking the gas fields of neighboring countries, Qatar being one of the closest allies of the US in the region, and the gas fields have been attacked by Iran with their missile strikes. So even if Donald Trump claims or vows that he will be destroying Iran's oil fields the resources there, crude oil there, there is always a possibility of Iran striking other countries, including Saudi Arabia, including Bahrain, including Iraq, and other countries that are there, that are resource rich, that have their own gas fields, that have their own oil fields. So it's going to be an extremely dangerous thing, not just for the region, but for the energy security for the entire world.
Of course, Akshay, stability and security of the region is definitely under a big question right now, with Iran targeting key facilities and conflict increasing on all sides and now becoming a wider regional war. How severe could the disruption be to the global energy markets, as you were mentioning, and supply chains already now affected by the conflict very badly?
Question, Lipakshi.
Yes, Akshay, I was asking you, with Iran now targeting key facilities and the conflict now increasing on all sides, becoming a wider regional war, as we all know, how severe could the disruption be to the global energy markets, as you mentioned, and of course the supply chains already affected by the conflict now very badly?
Well, you're talking about a region that is, in fact, a hub or a home to perhaps the largest energy resources in the world, the largest deposits of oil and gas. That is a largest supplier of much higher quality
Right.
crude oil, of gas that is then it is found in most parts of the world. And if there is a there is a strike on these very resources, then it is a danger for the rest of the world, especially the countries that are dependent on the resources in the region. If only the closing of Strait of Hormuz can lead to such a massive energy crisis, we can only imagine what the strikes on the energy resources will do to the rest of the world.
All right, Akshay, thank you so much for all that information. Well, Iran targeted energy facilities across the Gulf and threatened further destructive attacks after a key gas field was hit. The warning came after Israel killed the Islamic Republic's intelligence chief, Ismail Khatib. Tehran, following a strike on its South Pars field, said it would respond forcefully to any further attacks on its energy sector. Iran issued an evacuation warning for several energy facilities across Saudi Arabia, the UAE and Qatar, saying they would be targeted by strikes in the coming hours. Iran's threat of further retaliation came after Qatar's state energy company said a missile strike sparked a fire, causing extensive damage at its main gate facility. Ras Laffan is the world's largest, where the core of Qatar Energy's LNG processing takes place. Well, in response, Qatar declared the security and military attaché in Iran's embassy as persona non grata, asking them to leave the country within a maximum period of 24 hours. Meanwhile, Qatar said Iran missile attack has caused damage at northern industrial hub, though it had successfully intercepted 4 out of 5 ballistic missiles launched from Iran. And Saudi Arabia hosted a consultative meeting of foreign ministers from a number of Arab and Islamic countries in Riyadh on Wednesday. Kingdom's foreign minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan said Saudi Arabia reserves the right to take military actions if deemed necessary following Iranian attacks on Gulf countries. He accused Iran of trying to pressure its neighbors and said Riyadh will not succumb to escalation.
The targeting of Riyadh while a number of diplomats are meeting, I cannot see as coincidental. And I think that's the clearest signal of how Iran feels about diplomacy. It doesn't believe in talking to its neighbors. It tries to pressure its neighbors. The kingdom is not going to succumb to pressure. And on the contrary, this pressure will backfire. Will backfire politically, will backfire, I believe, morally, and certainly, as we have stated quite clearly, we have reserved the right to take military actions if deemed necessary.
The meeting was held to discuss ways to support regional security and stability given the Iran war. Foreign ministers from Qatar, Jordan, Syria, Egypt and Turkey and Bahrain attended the meeting. Arab and Islamic foreign ministers met in light of the ongoing Iranian attacks on countries in the region, with the participation of several foreign ministers from Arab, Islamic and regional countries. Well, the US-Israeli war against Iran, now in its third week, has slumped global trade and thrown the aviation industry into chaos. Continuing with attacks, United States Central Command released a video showing what it said was strikes on Iranian military targets. 3 Palestinian women were killed in an Iranian missile attack in the occupied West Bank, in the first deadly Iranian strike there and the first to kill Palestinians since the start of the US-Israeli war with Iran. 13 were wounded. Well, Iran targeted Tel Aviv with missiles carrying cluster warheads, which were intercepted by Israel's defense system. Israel has said that Iran has repeatedly used cluster warheads, which disperse into multiple smaller explosives mid-air and spread over a wide area, making them difficult to intercept. Israel also hit a building in Lebanon that badly damaged the facility. Israel has more than doubled the number of troops along its border with Lebanon since 1st of March, and they are searching homes in southern Lebanese villages that the military has ordered evacuated. Well, the war is into its third week, and Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi yet again asserted that Iran's stance against the development of nuclear weapons will not significantly change. Iran's foreign minister also said he believed that after the war comes to an end, countries that border the Gulf should draft a new protocol for the Strait of Hormuz to ensure that safe passage through the narrow waterway is carried out under certain conditions aligned with Iranian and regional interest. Well, asked about Iranian strikes in the Gulf not only targeting U.S. military bases but also impacting residential or commercial areas, Iran's foreign minister said this was because U.S. forces relocated to urban areas and added that the blame lay entirely with the U.S. for starting the war on the 28th of February.
Iran's nuclear doctrine has been a peaceful one, and we have always sought and still seek to exercise our rights to benefit from peaceful nuclear energy. In my view, we need to design new arrangements for the Strait of Hormuz and the way ships pass through it in the future, after the war, so that peaceful navigation through this waterway can be permanently maintained under clear regulations, with consideration for Iran's interests and the interests of the region.
And in other political developments regarding the war, Qatar has condemned the Iranian targeting of energy facilities in Saudi Arabia and UAE and reiterated its full solidarity with the brotherly nations and its support for all measures they take to safeguard their sovereignty, security and territorial integrity. Also, French President Emmanuel Macron spoke with U.S. President Donald Trump and the Qatari Emir about attacks that hit energy sites in Iran and Qatar. He said it is in the common interest to implement without delay a moratorium on strikes targeting civilian infrastructure, particularly energy and water infrastructure. Also, Iraq's Kataib Hezbollah, an influential pro-Iran armed group, said it was halting attacks on the U.S. embassy in Baghdad for 5 days pending certain conditions. The group demanded Israel stop bombing Beirut's southern suburbs, a stronghold of Lebanon's Hezbollah, and that U.S.-Israeli operations not target residential areas in Iraq. While Kuwait has arrested 10 militants affiliated with the Iran-backed Lebanese Hezbollah group who were accused of plotting terrorist actions against vital infrastructure. Also, U.S. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard said that Iran's government remains in place but has been significantly weakened by ongoing U.S.-Israel military operations. Gabbard told the Senate Intelligence Committee, adding that Iran's conventional military power projection has largely been destroyed, leaving it with limited options. Gabbard said the intelligence community assessed that the campaign, known as Operation Epic Fury, is driving fundamental change to the region, weakening Iran and its network of proxies following years of conflict that escalated after Hamas's 7th of October 2023 attack on Israel. She also warned that Iran continues to view the United States as an adversary and remains engaged in active conflict while refusing to comply with its nuclear obligations by denying inspectors access to key facilities.
Prior to Operation Epic Fury, the IC assesses Iran was trying to recover from the severe damage to its nuclear infrastructure sustained during the 12-day war and continued to refuse to comply with its nuclear obligations with the IAEA, refusing them access to key facilities. The IC assesses that China, Russia, and North Korea see the United States as a strategic competitor and potential adversary. Iran has long viewed the U.S. as an adversary and is engaged in active conflict with the U.S. as of today.
Well, Tulsi Gabbard also told lawmakers that Russia, China, North Korea, Iran and Pakistan have been researching and developing an array of novel, advanced or traditional missile delivery systems with nuclear and conventional payloads that put our homeland within range. She also said that Pakistan's long-range ballistic missile development could include missiles capable of targeting the U.S.
state actors present a risk broader in scope by seeking new capabilities in kinetic and cyber warfare. The United States' secure nuclear deterrent continues to ensure safety in the homeland against strategic threats. Pakistan's long-range ballistic missile development potentially could include ICBMs with a range capable of striking the homeland.
And time now for a short break. We'll be back in a while.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on. Pakistan has announced a temporary pause in hostilities with Afghanistan on Wednesday to mark the end of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. In fact, Pakistan's information minister said the pause for Eid al-Fitr had been requested by brotherly Islamic countries, Saudi Arabia, Qatar and Turkey for 5 days from Thursday until midnight on Monday. The development comes amid heightened tensions along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border after Kabul attack that killed over 400 people. The strike was the deadliest in an escalating conflict between the two neighbors. Now in its third week, Afghan officials have put the death toll at 408 people with 265 wounded. Well, a mass funeral was also held in Kabul on Wednesday for victims of the Pakistani strike on an Afghan rehabilitation center. According to the Afghan Taliban administration, more than 400 people died when a Pakistan Air Force attack hit a drug treatment facility in Kabul on Monday, marking the deadliest incident since tensions between the neighboring countries escalated late last year. Clashes between the former allies have intensified in recent weeks, with Pakistan carrying out airstrikes it claims targeted Afghan military and militant bases. Islamabad accuses Kabul of sheltering militants responsible for attacks in Pakistan, while the Taliban rejects the claims, calling Pakistan military's internal issue. And moving on, Costa Rica has cut diplomatic ties with Cuba, with President Rodrigo Chavez announcing the decision while sharply criticizing Cuba's government. Costa Rica has closed its embassy in Havana and asked its Cuban diplomats to leave San Jose, marking a full break in diplomatic relations. Chavez said the move reflects concerns over repression in Cuba, while adding that consular services may continue for Cuban nationals. The decision comes amid shifting regional alignments and growing pressure on Cuba. And Nigeria's defense chiefs visited Maiduguri after a deadly triple suicide bombing killed 23 people, marking one of the worst attacks in the city in recent years. Officials say efforts are underway to strengthen the military purpose. Also, the attack, blamed on Boko Haram, highlights a resurgence of violence in northeastern Nigeria, with both Boko Haram and Islamic State West Africa province increasing attacks. Officials say suicide bombings have again begun targeting urban centers, while coordinated assaults on military bases are also rising, posing new challenges for security forces already stretched across multiple fronts. And Colombia's Defense Minister Pedro Sanchez says explosions at cocaine laboratories near the Ecuador border killed 14 people in January, when asked to clarify accusations by President Gustavo Petro that an Ecuadorian operation caused more than 24 deaths. Sanchez said both countries are investigating possible violations of sovereignty, noting a bomb found in Colombia may become belong to Ecuador's armed forces. Ecuador's President Daniel Noboa denied responsibility, stating strikes targeting drug traffickers within Ecuadorian territory. Authorities confirmed 12 deaths on January 22nd in 2 later facilities. The incident comes amid Ecuador's wider security operation against gangs supported by international partners, including the United States.
Whether or not there was a violation of Colombian sovereignty will depend on an assessment that we are carrying out right now, including together with the Ecuadorian authorities.
And authorities in Mexico and Ecuador announced the arrest of a senior member of Ecuador's criminal group Los Lobos at Mexico City's International Airport on Wednesday. The suspect, known as Lobo Menor, was wanted under an Interpol red notice and is allegedly connected to drug trafficking, extortion and murder, according to Mexican Security Minister Omar Garcia Harfuch. Ecuador's Interior Minister John Remberg identified him as Angel Esteban Aguilar, a suspect in 2023 assassination of presidential candidate Fernando Villavicencio. Officials said Aguilar had obtained false Colombian identification documents and was attempting to escape to Mexico when he was detained. And the United Nations is seeking $2.16 billion to deliver life-saving assistance to 12 million people in Yemen. UN Deputy Spokesperson Farhan Haq said more than 22 million people in Yemen are in need of humanitarian aid. Hunger levels remain critical, with more than 18 million people facing acute food security. The healthcare system is also under severe strain, with nearly 40% of facilities either partially functioning or completely closed. The UN stresses the humanitarian access must remain open and unimpeded. Officials, however, warn that aid alone will not be enough to resolve the crisis and called for the restoration of essential services, economic recovery. And moving on to Russia-Ukraine update, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz reiterated demands that Europe play the lead role in negotiating security guarantees for Ukraine once there is a lasting peace settlement. Addressing the German parliament on Wednesday, Merz said it would be unacceptable for the United States and Russia to decide Ukraine's future without the involvement of Kyiv and its European partners.
I also told the American president that should a lasting peace settlement be reached in Ukraine and a contribution from the Europeans be expected, and it is rightly expected, we will, of course, from the very beginning be sitting at the table too and leading the negotiations on what security guarantees for Ukraine might look like. It is unacceptable for negotiations to take place solely between Russia and the United States over the heads of Ukraine and the Europeans. In our view, that is unacceptable.
Well, thousands of teachers linked to the CNTE union marched through Mexico City on Wednesday, establishing a 72-hour protest camp in Zocalo Square to demand higher wages and the reversal of education and pension reforms. Demonstrators carried banners accusing President Claudia Sheinbaum of failing to honor commitments while chanting along Pecio de la Reforma. Union spokesperson Cesar Obraggio said the group seeks renewed national negotiations and warned protest could intensify. CETEG leader Elvira Velitis criticized government spending priorities, saying funds were directed towards World Cup preparations instead of teachers' needs. The CNT, known as Large Protest, has threatened further section ahead of 2026 World Cup. And Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva attended the signing of a new digital statute aimed at restricting minors' access to social media as Brazil moves to strengthen online safety for children. The new law requires stricter age verification and links accounts of users under 16 to a legal guardian, while also mandating performs to block harmful content and remove material related to exploitation. Authorities say the move follows concerns over online abuse and aims to curb exposure to violent and inappropriate content with penalties for companies that fail to comply. And amid the growing tensions and conflict in different parts of the world, let's turn our focus on the World Happiness Report. Finland has been ranked the world's happiest country for a record 9th consecutive year. The report, released ahead of the United Nations International Day of Happiness, shows Finland once again topping the global rankings, with other Nordic countries also performing strongly, while nations affected by war and instability remained at the bottom of the side. Nordic nations continue to dominate the rankings, with Iceland, Denmark, Sweden and Norway joining Finland and taking 5 of the top 6 spots this year. Costa Rica ranked 4th, entering the top 5 for the first time, the highest ranking ever for a Latin American country. Although the study also highlighted a marked decline in well-being among the young people in several English-speaking countries, linked to parts to heavy social media use. And still to come on DD India News Hour. India issues a fresh advisory to its citizens to exercise heightened vigilance in Iraq. India's premier platform for power and electricity sector, Bharat Electricity Summit 2026, begins today. And Chaitra Navratri 9-day Hindu festival begins today, marking the beginning of Hindu Lunar New Year.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Arab foreign ministers meet in Riyadh as Iran war continues. Saudi FM says kingdom reserves the right to take military action. Terms Iran's action unconvincing. Iran threatens massive Gulf energy retaliation as it targets Qatar's Ras Al Khaimah, world's largest LNG plant, while Israel vows to keep up strikes after overnight strikes killed Intel chief Ismail Khatib. Stocks end sharply low as the U.S. Federal Reserve leaves interest rates unchanged. Chair Jerome Powell flags uncertainty related to impact of Iran war versus inflation worries. Barcelona, Liverpool and beyond Munich reach UEFA Champions League quarter-finals. Mohamed Salah becomes first African player to score 50 Champions League goals. And Finland ranked the world's happiest country for the record 9th consecutive year. World Happiness Report highlights complex effect of social media on well-being among the youth. And moving on, amid the escalating tensions, India issued a fresh advisory asking its citizens to exercise heightened vigilance and avoid non-essential movement. The Indian embassy in Baghdad is closely monitoring the evolving security situation in Iraq, with particular attention to the safety and welfare of the internationals, including those currently stranded. Citizens should remain calm, refrain from acting on unverified information or rumors, and rely solely on official communications. Internationals holding long-term visas or resident status in Iraq are advised to remain at their current locations. Those on short-term visuals who are stranded may consider returning to India via Saudi Arabia using land border routes. All travelers are urged to carefully assess the prevailing security situation, their journey, and to exercise all necessary precautions to ensure safety. And amid global concerns over fuel supplies triggered by tensions in West Asia and disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz, India remains on firm footing. More on this report.
Though the world is feeling the ripple effects of the war in West Asia and subsequent disruption of shipping routes through the Strait of Hormuz, India has been successful in navigating out of the troubled waters. As the fuel crisis grips nations throughout the globe, India continues to remain in a robust position thanks to its diplomatic outreach. The Indian-flagged crude oil tanker Jaglatki arrived at the port in Mundra in western Indian state of Gujarat on Wednesday after sailing through the Strait of Hormuz. This marks the third such arrival after LPG vessels Nanda Devi and Shivalik docked safely at Indian shores after a voyage through the war-torn waterways. Meanwhile, during an inter-ministerial press briefing by the Government of India on the developing situation in West Asia, the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas reassured the nation on the availability of fuel, including adequate stocks of petrol and diesel.
हमारी क्रूड अवेलेबिलिटी सामान्य है, रिफाइनरीज उच्चतम कैपेसिटी पर ऑपरेट कर रही हैं, डोमेस्टिक एलपीजी प्रोडक्शन हैज़ इंक्रीज्ड बाय 40%, रिटेल आउटलेट्स पर कोई ड्राई आउट रिपोर्टेड नहीं है और पेट्रोल पंप्स पर एडिक्वेट स्टॉक्स पेट्रोल और डीजल के अवेलेबल हैं। नेचुरल गैस के संबंध में जैसा कि आप जानते हैं, पीएनजी और सीएनजी फॉर ट्रांसपोर्ट 100% विदाउट एनी कट कंज्यूमर्स को अवेलेबल कराया जा रहा है।
The efforts by the government are already showing results as ground report from across the country shows stable supplies of fuel. From Jammu and Kashmir in the north to Delhi NCR in the heartland, and from Goa in the southwest to Assam in the northeast, an adequate availability of fuel is keeping people's troubles in check. Rupak Kumar Jha's report for DD India.
And in view of the ongoing West Asia crisis, the government has assured citizens that all energy supplies remain stable amid efforts to assist Indian nationals in Iran, including travel support and evacuation measures. Citizens have been asked to remain calm and avoid panic.
हमारी जो एम्बेसी राजदूतावास तेहरान में है, वो भारतीय नागरिक, खासकर भारतीय विद्यार्थीगण, उनका वो मदद कर रहे हैं। बहुत सारे भारतीय नागरिक बॉर्डर पार करके आर्मीनिया और अजरबैजान जाना चाहते हैं। इस संदर्भ में हमारे राजदूतावास ने एडवाइजरी जारी की है। ये सभी लोगों के लिए उनके हित में होगा, उनके सहूलियत में होगा कि वो एडवाइजरी का पालन करें, ताकि जो पारगमन लैंड बॉर्डर ईरान और आर्मीनिया के बीच में लैंड बॉर्डर जो है और ईरान और अजरबैजान के बीच में जो लैंड बॉर्डर है, उससे वो पारगमन एक सहूलियत ढंग से हो सके।
The government has also offered states and union territories an additional 10% allocation of commercial liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, conditional on reforms to support the transition from LPG to piped natural gas, that is PNG.
स्टेट्स और यूनियन टेरिटरीज को 10% अतिरिक्त कमर्शियल एलपीजी की एलोकेशन की पेशकश की है, प्रोवाइडेड they help in expediting the expansion of CGD network.
Well, the Indian Embassy in US, in association with the Nuclear Energy Institute, organized an event titled A Celebration of the Shanti Act in US-India Nuclear Energy Cooperation in Washington, D.C. The event was attended by Deputy Secretary James Stanley and Assistant Secretary Christopher Yeo. India's ambassador to the US, Vinoy Mohan Quatra, highlighted the vast potential for collaboration between India and the United States in the nuclear energy sector. Representatives from leading industry, including Holtec International, GE Vernova, Westinghouse Electric Company and X-Energy also attended the event and expressed their enthusiasm at the immense opportunities available for Indian-American industry-to-industry collaboration. Well, Indian Airlines are gradually restoring services to conflict-affected parts of West Asia, with Air India and Air India Express and Indigo on Wednesday announcing the resumption of flights to Dubai, while services to several other places in the region remain suspended. Air India and Air India Express will operate a total of 48 scheduled and non-scheduled flights to and from West Asia on Thursday, including 16 scheduled and 32 non-scheduled services. Akasa Air said it would progressively restore select flights in the region after conducting safety assessments and reviewing the prevailing situation. And India's premier platform for the power and electricity sector, Bharat Electricity Summit 2026, begins today, Thursday, in New Delhi, showcasing India's leadership, scale and innovation in renewables, storage and power infrastructure. The summit underscores the nation's growing role in delivering solutions with global impact. Companies across the entire power and electricity sector will showcase their latest innovations, technologies and solutions directly to global energy leaders, policymakers and investors during a 4-day event. The summit themed Electrifying Growth, Empowering Sustainability, Connecting Globally with a focus on shaping a secure, sustainable and resilient electricity future. An exhibition will be organized alongside showcasing cutting-edge technologies, innovations and solutions across the electricity. While reaffirming India's commitment to collaborative maritime security in the Indian Ocean region, the second edition of the Indian Ocean Ship Sagar commenced on the 16th of March. The edition includes participation from 16 IONS nations of the Indian Ocean region. The initiative builds on India's long-standing maritime operation efforts and reflects the Government of India's vision of security and growth for all in the region of Sagar, while also advancing the broader framework of Mahasagar, mutual and holistic advancement for security across the regions. And the 11th edition of the India-Seychelles Joint Military Exercise, Lamitiye, is currently underway at the Seychelles Defence Academy. The exercise focuses on enhancing joint capabilities in sub-conventional operations in semi-urban terrain and peacekeeping missions. It aims to effectively counter emerging threats while strengthening interoperability between the two armed forces. Officials say the exercise underscores the deepening defence cooperation between India and Seychelles. It also reaffirmed their shared commitment to peace, stability and security in the Indian Ocean region. And a 240-foot Belay bridge built with Indian assistance was inaugurated on Sri Lanka's Chilor-Thoduwawa road, restoring a key crystal link damaged by Cyclone Ditwaha. The bridge was jointly opened by Sri Lankan Minister AHMH Abhiranta and India's High Commissioner Santosh Jha, highlighting New Delhi's expanding humanitarian role in the region. High Commissioner Jha said Indian engineering teams will continue reconstruction at 40 damaged sites across 7 provinces, with nearly 18 Belay bridges planned in the coming weeks. The project forms part of India's USD $450 million post-disaster reconstruction package announced by External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, with USD $30 million earmarked specifically for bridge connectivity. And India has emerged as a key contributor to a global progress in reducing child mortality. This is according to UN Interagency Group for Child Mortality Estimation Report 2025. The report highlights India's sustained and large-scale efforts in improving child survival outcomes, particularly across potential and under 5 mortality indicators. Key initiatives including special newborn care units, Janani Suraksha Yojana, Janani Shishu Suraksha Karyakram and expanded immunization combined with robust health systems have been driving this transformation. Under the dynamic leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's, India's focused comprehensive approach on neonatal care has paved the way for eliminating preventable child deaths and securing healthy futures for our children. And as parts of the Delhi NCR witnessed rainfall on Wednesday, bringing a change in weather conditions along with a dip in temperatures, the Indian Meteorological Department said the change in weather is part of a short wet spell expected to continue till 21st of March. Day temperatures are expected to remain in the 27 to 31 degrees centigrade range, offering continued relief from the sharp heat seen earlier this month when temperatures crossed 35 degrees centigrade. Well, also a yellow alert is in place for March 19th and March 20th, with IMD warning of thunderstorms, lightning and strong winds. Similar weather patterns are being observed across north and northeast India. IMD has forecast widespread rain, thunderstorms and gusty winds across several states. Heavy rainfall is likely in parts of Arunachal Pradesh, Assam and Meghalaya, while the western Himalayan region, including Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Jammu and Kashmir, may see intense showers over the next 2 to 3 days. Hailstorm activity is also possible in isolated areas of Punjab, Haryana and Rajasthan. And fresh snowfall returned to the high reaches of Kashmir, bringing back wintry scenes to the mountains. Tourists are flocking to the hilly region to enjoy the screens and picturesque winter landscape. Here's more in this report.
The popular ski resort of Gulmarg is once again draped in white as fresh snowfall blankets the hill station, covering the scenic peaks of Kongdori and Aparwat. Tourists are enjoying the serene and picturesque winter landscape surrounded by snow-covered mountains and a serene atmosphere. Many tourists witnessing snowfall for the first time said they never expected to see it at this time of the year.
We have come here this season and it is snowing. We did not expect to see snowfall at all. We are very happy to be here and are really enjoying watching the snow. Yeah, this is my first experience of snowfall and I never thought I would get to see snow here.
I am very happy.
We really enjoyed being here. This is our first time visiting Kashmir and it has been snowing ever since we arrived.
Meteorological officials say intermittent rain and light to moderate snowfall will continue over the hilly areas of Jammu and Kashmir for the next 2 days, with higher reaches likely to receive moderate to heavy snowfall.
18th March से लेके 20 March.
There were chances of a quiet spell. Rain has been occurring intermittently along with light snowfall in the hilly areas. This activity is expected to continue intermittently until the afternoon of March 20th. Between March 19th and 20th, the higher reaches, especially in the Chenab Valley and the hilly areas of South Kashmir, may receive moderate to heavy snowfall. In the plains, light to moderate rain is likely, while some hilly areas, particularly in North and Central Kashmir, may experience light to moderate snowfall.
Moderate snowfall की भी possibility.
The fresh spell of snowfall is expected to further boost tourist footfall in the coming days as people seek to escape rising temperatures in the plains amid intensifying summer heat.
And Ayodhya in Uttar Pradesh is ready for the installation of a Sri Ram Yantra at the Ram Mandir, with President Draupadi Murmu attending the ceremony and performing Aarti. Thousands of invitees are expected, with security tightened and roads and parks decorated for the event.
Preparations are in the final stages for the installation of the Sri Ram Yantra at Ayodhya's Ram Temple during President Draupadi Murmu's 3-day visit beginning Thursday. She will visit Ayodhya and Mathura. The President will participate in the installation ceremony, have darshan and perform Aarti. Meanwhile, roads and parks in Ayodhya have been decorated and arrangements are being made for cultural events. Thousands of invitees, including workers, architects and engineers who contributed to the temple's construction, are expected to participate in the grand ceremony.
More than 2,000 workers who contributed to the temple construction, carvers, as well as the architectures and engineers have been invited and are arriving. Around 7,000 people will be present in the complex in the presence of the Honorable President of India, Mrs. Draupadi Murmu.
Access to the Sri Ram Yantra will remain restricted, with entry allowed only through limited passes during the inauguration ceremony. Broader access for devotees is expected after Ram Navami.
It will be conducted in a systematic manner and through passes. Most likely, after Ram Navami, permission and further arrangements will be decided by the trust.
इस प्रकार का जो है वो अनुमति और व्यवस्था ट्रस्ट करेगा.
Meanwhile, spiritual leader Mata Amritanandamayi has arrived in Ayodhya with her followers to participate in the event. Thousands of security personnel have been deployed across Ayodhya and traffic restrictions are in place. On Friday, the President will visit Vrindavan to inaugurate an oncology block at a hospital.
Well, the devotees thronged to temples during Chaitra Navratri to offer prayers and seek blessings. Chaitra Navratri is a 9-day Hindu festival dedicated to Goddess Durga and in 9 forms, marking the beginning of the Hindu Lunar New Year in many parts of India. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also extended his Navratri greetings. In a post on X, Prime Minister wrote, and I quote him here, "Heartfelt Navratri greetings to my family members across the country. May this divine occasion of worshipping Shakti bring happiness, good fortune, prosperity and excellent health to all of you. May the boundless grace of the Shakti Swarupa, Mother Durga, bring welfare to everyone, thereby infusing new energy into our resolve for a developed India. Jai Ambe Jagdambe Ma," unquote. While extending his greeting to everyone on the very special occasion of Nam Samvatsar, he wrote on X, and I quote him here, "May everyone be blessed with infinite happiness, success and good health. I pray that this coming new year further strengthens the spirit of courage, self-confidence and service in everyone's lives. May it also add renewed momentum to our collective efforts towards nation building." Prime Minister Narendra Modi also extended his greetings on the occasion of Gudi Padwa, Ugadi, Cheti Chand, Navrehe, Poshte and Sajibu Cheroava. And renowned Padma Shri awardee sand artist Sudarshan Patnaik marked Rashtriya Nav Varsh by creating a 7-foot-high and 15-foot-long sand sculpture at Puri Beach. The sculpture attracted locals and tourists alike, who appreciated Patnaik's artistry and the festive spirit it brought to the iconic beach. Known for his creative sand installations, Patnaik continues to use his art to celebrate cultural events and ahead spread messages of unity and positivity. Well, the city of Nagpur came alive as residents celebrated Gudi Padwa, marking the first day of the Hindu New Year. Devotees performed traditional dances to welcome prosperity and happiness. The celebrations reflected the spirit of renewal and joy, bringing together families and communities to welcome the new year with devotion and festivity. And on to some business news now. In the face of surging energy prices arising from the Iran war, U.S. Federal Reserve held interest rates steady and projected higher inflation, steady unemployment and only a single reduction in borrowing costs this year, as officials took place of economic risk from the U.S. and Israeli war with Iran. Also, Bank of Canada struck hawkish tones, keep interest rates on hold. The Fed and BOC decisions came a day after the Reserve Bank of Australia hiked rates for a 10 to 11-month high and warned of a material risk to inflation. Also, they will be followed in short order on Thursday by the Bank of Japan, European Central Bank and Bank of England. None are expected to hike rates, but the outlook for global monetary policy has been significantly muddled by the outbreak of the conflict. Well, the stocks slid and the oil prices jumped while the US dollar was steady on Thursday after major escalation in the US and Israel's war with Iran rattled the investors. The hits to energy infrastructure sent US crude futures more than 3% higher per barrel. Natural gas rose over 5%, while Brent futures rose to $111.19 a barrel in early trading. The dollar index, which measures the US currency against 6 other units, is up 2.5% since the war broke out at the end of February, as investors have already largely gravitated towards the greenback as the haven of choice. And let's now take a look at an infographic showing both the price of petrol per litre in US dollars and how much the cost of petrol has changed since February 23rd, just before the war in West Asia. It has kept petrol and diesel prices unchanged despite oil surge, with government's comprehensive intervention and state-run oil marketing companies absorbing the impact. However, many developed economies, including Germany, Canada, the US and even Singapore, have recorded somewhere between 15 to 25% hike between February 23rd and March 16th. Others like Qatar, Japan, UAE, the UK, Netherlands, China, South Korea and Denmark have increased fuel prices up to 15%. Besides, the most affected countries include Philippines, Laos, Australia, Vietnam and Nigeria, witnessing somewhere between 29 to 40% hike in fuel prices. You're watching DD India News. Our time now for some sports news. Liverpool delivered an outstanding performance at Anfield, defeating Galatasaray 4-0 to reach the UEFA Champions League quarter-final. After losing the first leg 1-0 in Istanbul, Liverpool equalised in aggregate when Dominic Zoboszlai scored from a well-worked set piece. Barcelona produced a dominant performance to thrash Newcastle Union 7-2 and reach the UEFA Champions League quarter-finals. Rafinha and Robert Lewandowski scored 2 goals each and Barcelona took control of the match. Newcastle fought hard in the first half with Anthony Elanga scoring twice to keep his team in the game. Barcelona led 3-2 at half-time after a penalty from Lamine Yamal. In the second half, Barcelona dominated completely. Goals from Fermin Lopez, Rafinha and 2 more from Lewandowski sealed a big win. Poor defending cost also was there. Harry Kane reached a half-century of Champions League goals as Bayern Munich beat Atlanta 4-1 to progress to the quarter-finals. The England captain started the game on 48, but a first-half penalty and a brilliant second-half strike moved him on to 50. Kane reached the landmark in 66 games. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.